Look at you, Karen. She's live. She's live. Okay. Hello. Good morning. We're always cut short. Always. Good morning and welcome to Small Business Chat. We are here talking today about collaboration over competition. I don't know about you, Karen. I'm sure that you and I definitely have been aware of more collaborative efforts, but I'm absolutely loving seeing this. When I started in business, and in fact, I think working in corporate for so long, it has always been this hush hush secret. Don't speak to your competitors, don't share anything. You must tramp on your competition to succeed. And it's something that as a small business owner, you know that that's not actually true, because you can't do it alone. And especially if you've got a bigger issue or a bigger cause, you need as many allies as possible in order for you to make any kind of progress. But what does that mean for a small business in order for you to continue growth? And especially during harder times like this, where you might not have the budget. I mean, it's hard enough being a small business owner, isn't it? That you don't have the budget to start off with. You perhaps don't have the connections, but you do have that goal. So what is it that you need to do? Like, what are the stepping stones that you need to get you up there? So we love collaboration. We've always talked about this. It's always been competition for me is almost a daft view. It needs to be much more open and collaborative. And I've seen so many benefits, and I know you have, Karen. So this is what we're going to talk about, the practical tips. There is so much we could talk about. We have touched about this before, but there's so much that we could talk about. But I'm actually wondering whether or not we were discussing whether or not this should be like a second show as well. But let's talk about some practical tips as a small business owner that you can undertake in maybe your campaigns, your comms, your business development, that would help you get on to the next level. So Karen, I'm going to ask you, because I've loved how you've worked. I know it's how I work. We're collaborative partners. So if I have working with different agencies that offer different skill sets, if I know that I've got some work coming in and that I know it would be more full service, then I will work with someone like Karen to make sure that that brief is delivered. And, you know, it's great to have partners like that, isn't it? So tell us a little bit more about what you've done personally, because I know how you've done it on with other businesses and other brands, but you've done it almost a step better. I think I've lost you, so I'll carry on. So we're talking about sort of collaboration. I know that we've had ways of working with other brands, other businesses. I know that if you have a wonderful sort of collaboration with someone, you can actually join forces and extend your services is one thing that is absolutely key. I would also say that we have a wonderful way of extending those services, offering new creative packages, and in order to get out there and also make sure that your client gets all of the needs that they require. We were talking about actually cross channels as well. Don't be afraid to actually use not so much non-competing services. I actually love talking to other PRs. It's something that I do on social more so, understanding how they work, because you could still have the same range of services, but you operate in slightly a different way. So for example, I'm not so much coverage driven. I'm more about relationships, building up the brand reputation and building up the communities, and actually how you use your coverage in order to do that. I would actually honestly say as well that I've found so much benefit. Referrals is a huge thing. So once you get to know these other businesses and you're supporting them perhaps on social, I share some of the great work that they do. If I recognize what they're saying, how they're working, and I appreciate their approach, I like to promote that on my channels as well and say, yeah, absolutely, you should hear more from sort of this other PR company or this other marketing company. So it's definitely something to go forward with. I would also say that there are other ways in terms of cross promotion. Sometimes in media, we have had opportunities that we haven't been able to progress with. So working with a media title, trying to find the angle doesn't quite work in the way that the media title need. But you should always speak to the media title and say, what other ways are there to work together? I've ended up turning around like promotional campaigns where they've been able to promote the brand or the product in a way where it has received more support through their newsletter, through their social media, through their events. Remember the days of events. So they've been able to do that and get more coverage and actually more traction than they would have done with a simple mention in the title. So that's something really important to think about when it comes to working in cross collaboration, not only across social media channels, but also with media titles. Another one that comes up often is that we are also having to look at perhaps guest blogs, looking also at sharing other people's insights on our comms. So Karen, I know, does her eco chat every Tuesday, and I love the way that she's putting in other businesses that come in to talk about how they're working, to share their insights. So that's amazing. We've lost Karen at the moment, so if you're there, Karen, on the chat, let me know, because I'm sure there's loads of things that you could be talking about, and we'll try and get you back on there as well. Sorry about that, Karen, I don't quite know how that's worked. I think she's just said her computer's blue screen, so that's why. All live, folks, that's how it works. So yeah, there's different ways of getting people on to talk, sharing blogs. Oh, there you are. You're back. I was just saying how you use EcoChat to come on and actually showcase other businesses, and so I was just literally talking about some of the things that you do, so you weren't missing from the conversation.
My computer just blue screened. It just went just completely blue screen and died. So I'm glad that you were actually able to just carry on. I didn't know if it would work or not. I thought it would cut it completely. So
the joy of lives, folks. The joy of lives.
Technology.
So I was just saying actually that there is so much to factor in. I was saying how with your eco chat every Tuesday, you know, how you bring in other businesses to share insights, but also we're sharing audiences, because ultimately what I particularly love, and people that do this really well, is that if you're going to be on a show, promote the fact that you're going to be on this show, tag that show in, because the people that are following that show and have loved working or hearing what you've said will then follow you. So that's something that's really quite crucial, isn't it? We were talking about partners as well. We were talking about partners. We were talking about like you've worked with other businesses to create a completely new package, or a much more robust package. So rather than come straight to you and you say, I can work with someone, you actually have separated it out, haven't you? To go, right, okay, this is a new sort of much more robust offering that I can offer with somebody else. And it's worked really well, hasn't it? So
yeah, I've been working with Lynn from Stanfield from Big Idea. So we've set up something called Big Fizz. So taking the big idea and the Hub Fizz and bringing that together, and we actually just sort of we've worked together kind of collaboratively for 8 years or so. I mean, over 30 projects now. Amazing. So where Lynn does kind of the branding and strategy behind that, I do the website, but it's a collaborative process all the way through. So they're getting both our input from start to finish, and it's worked really well for clients. To the point now we're kind of re-looking at that and kind of refreshing it and reinventing it, and promoting that more, because we feel that that's really gives people a really good foundation, but also, you know, they're getting the branding core foundation with the website on top.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah,
and that's worked really well.
And again, it's a different revenue stream, isn't it? Because it might be slightly different. So again, looking at that collaboration, I was saying about guest pods, blogging, that's something else, competitions. The other thing that I try and do for certain clients is that if you cannot, if you know that there's a certain offering there, you know, partner with somebody else, use their newsletters. They've got an audience. So again, if I have a client that can offer something to their audience, like maybe we could do it as a competition, maybe we can do it as an offer, a special discount, and that they can promote. So it's added value for the person and their newsletter and their audience. And it's a great way for exposure and an introduction to the brand for the other client. So it works quite well in that respect. What else is there that you might think of?
Well, I don't know if you mentioned it because obviously I missed it a little bit. But things like workshops. So I've collaborated in the past, workshops with people. So you're coming from different angles as well. But also because to run, I mean, obviously you can't do it now, but the same might apply online. So if you're on Zoom, you need someone to maybe manage the comments and questions. You know, when we were doing in-person workshops, you know, it's quite hard to be teaching, but then also helping people at the same time, you know, if you've got sort of 8 or 10 people. So it really helps to have 2 people in there to manage everything and make sure that you're giving people the attention that they need. So I think that's a really great way to collaborate.
And actually, we worked together on social media training, I remember
We
back in the
did.
day. And it was
We trained 72 pubs around the UK, didn't we?
It was crazy. I love that.
Fun.
But actually, what was really interesting is that we both had different perspectives. So again, I'm looking at it more as the engagement and the community build, and you were looking as, again, you were able to provide some really helpful, like just insightful tech advice, you know, so some of the programs that you were using, and you know, so actually it was a really good combo. So even though you're on the webinar, like, you think about it, you may still be doing the same thing, but again, you're coming at it from 2 different directions just to add value. I love that about events, because that's the other thing. Somebody is saying, oh, I wouldn't work with another PR, and I thought, oh my god, I've had some of the best things come out of working with other PRs on events, that actually you might have similar clients, but then you can pull together your resources to one event to make the audience, to provide a better offering for the audience. So again, if you think about it, I know somebody, Kudos PR, giving them a shout out, but they work with other PRs for Fashion Week. So it was during the fashion launches, and journalists are invited to everything. So actually, by teaming up with another PR and making sure that there are other brands and more brands in one event, it gives the journalist a more incentive to come over and visit them, rather than just, oh, I must go to this one show, this one PR, this one PR, this one PR. Actually collaborate all under one roof, we're all together, and it's less stops for you to do. So actually, it's actually, you know, much more, again,
and
remembering events.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, on that sort of question of competition, you know, there is no competition, because everyone has their own kind of niche or their own way of doing things, and the kind of clients that they go for. So, you know, so me collaborating, say, with another web company, which I've done on numerous occasions, you know, you've got different offerings and different skills and stuff as well. So you're kind of sharing those skills, you're sharing your expertise. You know, the client that you're working with is going to get the best of both worlds, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why branding is so important. This goes back to, again, I find branding so important, because if you can't differentiate yourself and what your way of working is and what your values are, then that's how you know, that's exactly how you stand out, and why it might be easier for somebody to think, oh, I'll work with this person instead of that person. So again, really, really crucial there. So we've got events. Yeah, absolutely. I think
Did you talk about webinars?
Webinars and events, I think you just mentioned, like masterclasses. So yeah, again,
that's similar to that. Yes, and again, just someone who made a comment on your LinkedIn post and said it was quite good, because so offering kind of a webinar was the fact that it gave a lot more value to the audience, because you're getting expertise, you're getting tips and that, and from different experts, not just one. So
and actually, seeing collaboration on Clubhouse at the moment is really interesting. Somebody was commenting, going, oh my god, I'm seeing all the same people. And it's like, no, they're very savvy. They have realized that actually, if you are collaborating with somebody on a, you know, on a club room and on a Clubhouse chat, I should say, it just means, again, you've got like greater audiences, you've got that opportunity to share your viewpoints. So again, just how things have moved from events to webinars to masterclasses to Clubhouse chats, it's all going, even Facebook Lives, look at this, like we just enjoyed doing it together anyway. But I think, again, we have it from different perspectives, but very similar values. So it's always really helpful, isn't it? So there's so much there, isn't there? I just always think that there's so much to enjoy and actually appreciate and working together. I think that it's really helping a lot more businesses now. They're becoming much more aware of how to share that share each other's resources, knowledge, skills. Again, the other thing about collaboration, and why I think it's so important, that even though we're talking from a tactical perspective of non-competing brands and how that's beneficial, we have touched upon why we would speak to other people in our sector doing the same thing. I think that being honest and open is actually something that is highly useful, because if you have a problem, I do want to speak to another PR or marketing person or another PR, I find that super helpful. And there's some great groups on LinkedIn where we're able to share and say, having this issue, has anyone else encountered this? Can anyone else help? Again, if we don't have to do this by ourselves. And I think that's the key thing that comes out. We shouldn't have to do this by ourselves. We weren't meant to do this by ourselves. And if you think you can do this by yourselves, you're missing out on a wealth of information, aren't you?
Yeah, because you can't, because you expect as a small business owner to do so many things. People struggle with stuff. So, you were talking about issues and that, or it's like, what kind of packages work, or what kind of pricing, let's talk about what do you charge, or what do you do when you've come across this problem with a client, or, how do you approach this, or even if it comes down to proposals and contracts and things like that, terms and conditions, sharing those amongst each other, it all helps. Otherwise, you've got to go then, try and research that all by yourself, and every single person's then doing the same thing. And it's a huge resource, and time. So yeah, I think it's super valuable. And also during these times, I think when some businesses are doing well and others aren't, this is where, if you've got a collaboration with someone, you're not going to be in the situation of I've got no work or income coming in, because if you've partnered up with the right kind of people where some are busy, and you've still got the collaboration going, that will keep your business going as well. And I think people who have operated very much in a silo on their own are the ones that have struggled quite a lot because of that.
Totally agree. And actually, I don't even think it should be a crisis. That, again, it's always a crisis that highlights these things. But what I am loving is that I have seen, it's almost like this crisis has highlighted how well people have been collaborating over the years. It's been a lot faster to do. And that's why I thought it is something that if you haven't considered it, please do. Like, look back at your business plans, look at your comms plans and think, right, if it's going to be such a struggle, where can I partner? You might have different ideas, but it is very much a partnership where some things that you can lead, sometimes, they can lead. You can really, if you feel like you're the one that needs to be in control, there are ways of actually saying, right, who's leading that project, or what can I do? You can find ways around it. It is not necessarily about giving up and actually submitting over to somebody else's sort of desires. You find the same values, find the same ethos in how you work, and then actually what would that tactically look like? The other thing that I would say, we talked about it, and we've talked about this before, about promoting a cause. I think, again, this is where it's so key to work with people that are like-minded. So again, there are awareness days out there that I see, or perhaps societal issues, but actually when businesses come together and we're talking about it more, there is a louder voice around the subject, then actually the message sinks in much more. We were talking about awareness days, funny enough, and somebody was commenting, which I thought was really interesting, about how what aren't awareness days, they're so annoying. And I said, actually, for charities it's really key, because you might not have heard of a condition, or a cause, and actually having everybody talk about it at the same time, including media. Like, this is why awareness days were originally created. It was really more media, awareness, of trying to get the media to cover it. So, it's this day today, it's National Love Your Dog Day, sponsored by Crofts or whatever it might be. So again, it's like, trying to get the conversational topics out there. But when you have a societal cause and everyone's talking about it, and then you can then talk about it on social, it's really far more powerful than you will ever see. I mean, I didn't really like Blue Monday as a day, because I feel like the negative connotations of it's the most depressing day, and everyone talks about it's done in a good way of how to uplift yourself from being depressed. And it's like, why are we being told that we need to be depressed on one day? And then I love the way that the Samaritans turned it around and went, right, no more Blue Monday, it's Brew Monday, let's get talking.
And also there was someone who did Green Monday as well, and decided, get out in nature, look at the blue skies, and that's it. Yes, it's quite clever sort of turnaround.
Yeah. So exactly this, but the fact is that the amount of people now that are now talking about Blue Monday, and hopefully now Brew Monday and Green Monday, again, it's getting that message out there. So that's through collaboration. And again, the more people that you know in your network that you're talking about them, to get them to do it, that's the important thing about it all. And so
it is. It's the people power and people coming together, isn't it? So and which always works in different situations. So why not do that in business as well?
I love that. People power. Absolutely. I'm all for that. See, people will change the world. I'm telling you, it is people power. You can't do it.
And just go back to something you said earlier, because you quickly switched subjects. Sorry. So I'm just jumping back in something I had to talk about. That was, when you're collaborating with people, and kind of a lot of people think, oh, we'll have to project manage it, or someone has to control the project, or say for example, I want to do a project and someone else, they also want sort of branding and photography and SEO and PR and everything. I don't tend to do that all under my brand. I can offer that to people and signpost them, but what I would do is do an introduction to yourself, or do an introduction to someone like Lynn, or Ian on the SEO, people, photographers and videographers and that, and directly contact the client with that person. I think that transparency is really key as well. And then and it's that trust thing as well, and then they build the relationship directly with that person too. Otherwise you become the middle person, and it's a lot of project management time, things get lost in translation. So I would just say to people, bear that in mind. You don't have to take that under your umbrella. It's okay to be transparent and signpost it to your network.
That is a really good point, because somebody said, oh, I'll happily white label under your brand. And I said, no, I don't need you to, because I'm really transparent. And actually, you're a small business, I'm a small business. I think you should be proud about your small business. She was a bit taken aback. I'll always remember this. And I said, no, because I've flatlined refused to white label under another brand, because it's not honest. It's not, and actually, if it means the client is going to speak to somebody else who knows nothing about what I do, and they're going to refer it back to me, and I just need to have a very direct conversation with the client, then actually we're already wasting time. We're probably wasting valuable pieces of information, like you've just said. And that's why I love because the way that collaboration is being seen with a much more open perspective and welcomed perspective. I think transparency with that collaboration, you're absolutely right, is so key. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Great point to end on, actually, Karen. I think that is so true. So true. If you have any questions, by all means ask us, if you need any tips or if you found that helpful, but hopefully that's given you some pointers and information of how you could perhaps be looking to grow and scale your small business by collaborating with others. But yes, we will see you for next week. And sorry for the delay. I didn't realise.
Sorry for the tech. I'm too scared to even go click on Facebook to see if there's comments in case it sort of blows up again. So if you have got comments and questions on that, Christelle and I will get, we always check the Facebook afterwards, and we'll get to them straight after the show. So
absolutely. All right. Enjoy. Thanks for joining us on your coffee break.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.